And we're on. Awesome. So, welcome everybody to tonight's webinar. So, what we're talking about tonight is we're talking about boosting your health. What to do so that we can successfully how do you say it? We're gonna successfully transition through the fall season, into the fall season, and even into winter. So these are some things that we could be doing to help our bodies do better, to help us live a better quality of life throughout the transition of seasons. I mean, we have some pretty interesting things that are starting to come up. In the next few months here, we got the cold and flu season starting up. We got seasonal affect disorders are climbing up. We can also see, we got daylight savings time coming up on November. So when we're looking at this, there's a lot of stressful things that can influence our health during the season. So like, let's talk about some of these things. And let's not forget too, we got the holiday season coming up, and everybody knows there's a lot of sweet stuff come holidays, right? So we oftentimes forget that we have Thanksgiving all the way through New Year's, and those are strung together pretty tight. We oftentimes hear people say, in practice, we'll hear people say, well, it was the holidays that got me. And to be honest with you, as much as I love that idea and that concept, it's really not the holidays that got you so much as it is more so what happened between New Year's and Thanksgiving, and come all the way the year around and you're back on the other side. So what we're doing consistently is really going to catch up to us. So with that being said, let's move into this. Tonight, my goal is to give you some tips, tools, and strategies that are going to actually help you take some action so that this year is a better year for you than maybe last year was. If you have any questions or any of that stuff, just put them in the comments and I'll answer them as quickly as I can. But let's go ahead and get started so that we can start on time, stay on time, and we'll keep moving. So let's take a look here. Now, one of this quote that I actually said, it's this Josh Billings quote. It's called health, or he says, health is like money. We never have a true idea of its value until we lose it. I like that. I like that a lot, because oftentimes we don't have a good value on what our health is. We trade off. We're like, well, I'll just do it a little bit, right? I'll just have a little bit, moderation, right? Nobody ever really defines moderation. So we're going to talk about some of these things tonight, and I hope you get something out of it, right? So we're going to go right in. So one of the biggest things that we talk about in our office is we talk to people quite commonly about the 5 big pillars of health. And the 5 big pillars of health in our office, we call it living the dream. So we have diet, rest, exercise, alignment, and mindset. That's DREAM, the acronym DREAM. So we're going to go through the dream, and we're going to talk about what we can be doing with the dream as far as moving into the seasons. So we're going to start with diet. And why we're going to start with diet, because I oftentimes feel like our diet is probably the thing that we can all do. We're all going to eat every single day anyway. I don't hear anybody ever talking about how they're just missing meals. It's like that's a very rare thing that we hear, people that just want to skip meals. So when we're talking about our health, one of the fastest ways you can change how you feel is by changing what you're putting into your body. That's a huge part of it. So one of the things that I think we look at is that there's an Ann Wigmore quote that says, your food can either be the most safest, most powerful medicine or the slowest poison. And that's so true. It's because we can really, we can be invigorated about what we put into our body. We can have a bunch of vital minerals and nutrients, or we can be deficient or toxic, having too much of something in our body. So let's talk about what we can do in order to start putting better stuff in our body, right? So the first thing that I want to talk about, we're going to talk about the don't. So the big don't, moving into the fall season and the transition, is we don't want to be living on sugar. That's a big part of it. Reduce and eliminate sugar. Sugar it's one of the top 3 addictive white powders. And it really, there's cocaine, heroin, and sugar, and they're all addictive. The most addictive of the 3, sugar, and all of us are taking it, right? So when we talk about it, the latest research that I looked at is they estimate that the average person consumes of their entire diet in North America, the average person consumes about 20% of their calories are from added sugar. So a 20% added sugar is really, that's way too much. Sugar is not a food group. We should not, like, make sure we get our dose of sugar, right? It's like, so at the end of the day, the effects of sugar are pretty profound. So we can see sugar, and like, especially refined sugar, creates these huge insulin spikes, which throw our pH out of balance, make our body more acidic. It also shifts our body in from fat burning mode and locks us more into a fat storage mode through insulin. Our bodies, remember insulin, we get high levels of blood sugar, it's the insulin is driving it into the cells, and if the cells are full, then it drives it into fat cells and stores it. So that's why when we take a look at it, it's so paramount that we actually start to really focus and marshal how much sugar we're putting into our body, especially in the seasonal shifts. We might be able to get by with a few of it during the summer, but really at the end of the day, we want to make sure that what we're doing with our body is we're giving it sufficient amounts of the main minerals and nutrients that it needs to be successful. I oftentimes tell our patients, if you give your body what it needs to be successful, it will be. If you don't, how could it ever be, right? It's like you don't even have a chance, right? There's so many vitamin and mineral deficiencies in the Merck manual, and it's just literally it's deficiencies in B vitamins and these. We see that our body has a vast difficulty doing it when our body is deficient in a lot of these things. So remember, sugar is also very highly inflammatory, and inflammation is not our body's friend. Anybody will tell you it's the underlying precursor of diabetes, heart disease, and strokes, and even some forms of cancer. So we want to make sure that we're really marshaling the sugar. So what can we do to keep our immune systems high, right? So what can we do to make sure that we're sufficient in the things that we know from basic science research boosts our immune system? Now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put the big disclaimer on this. This is not to combat a disease. This is to be healthy, right? So we always talk about, oftentimes, like in the media nowadays, all we're seeing is the strength of a virus. We're seeing the flu. We have all these, with the whole COVID thing, it's put a really big exclamation point, if you will, on it's never really been a good time to be deficient, toxic, or weak. So at the end of the day, what can we do to become sufficient? What can we do to boost our body's health so that we can exercise more, we get better restful recuperative sleep? What are the things that we can put into our bodies to decrease inflammation in our bodies? So let's talk about it. So when we're looking at it from this, now this is not a cure for anything. Again, this is just what our bodies basically need in order to be successful and have a robust health response to everything in our environment. So when we look at the basic immune boosting minerals and vitamins and nutrients, we're talking about the fat soluble vitamins. We've got vitamin A, C, or well, C is not a fat soluble, but we got A, C, and E. Those are big immune busters, ACE, right? So when we take a look at that, those are the things that boost our immune system. When we look at all those little packets in the store, like the Coldies and things like that, that are in the store, that's all that is vitamin C, zinc, and we have the basic minerals and nutrients in there to help our combat a cold. So when we take a look at it, we got to remember vitamin C. We oftentimes get that from a lot of fruits and vegetables, things like that. But remember, if you're eating, the big thing I want to talk about vitamin C, and I'm going to back up for a second and just talk about sugar again, is vitamin C and sugar, they actually compete. When it comes to cell receptors, it actually competes for the cell receptor. So what's happening there is they're shaped very similar. Here, I'm going to use these two as an example. So if this is vitamin C and this is sugar, now if my brain is addicted to sugar, and our brains do love sugar just naturally, it loves glucose. So it prefers glucose or sugar over vitamin C. So when our brain sees a big heap of sugar, it's like, oh my gosh, look at that sugar. That's awesome. I should get some of that sugar. But the cell receptors are shaped the same. So this will fit right in there. Sugar will cut the line in front of vitamin C, and vitamin C will just sit out here and it's going to float around, and it's not going to be able to get in and be absorbed by the cell. So, which brings me to a point. We have to remember that our diet is really, like, whatever we're putting into our bodies there has to be like reduce that sugar so that vitamin C has a better absorption rate. Because if we're not what we absorb. That's my point. I want to get that across to you. If I can't absorb this vitamin C, it does my body no good. So remember that. So when we're talking about that, reducing that vitamin or that sugar consumption will actually improve our vitamin C absorption. I hope that makes sense. Now, vitamin C is not only good for our immune system, it's good for our connective tissue, it's good for our skin. And so there's a myriad of reasons that we should be having vitamin C in our body. So, and most people nowadays, like I just said, if we're eating sugar, they're not getting the vitamin C. So at the end of the day, they're not absorbing as much of it as they think they are. So we want to make sure that we're sufficient in that vitamin C. So some of the things that we can do, the other things is also zinc and selenium. We want to make sure that if we're sufficient in zinc and selenium, especially in the transitions of the season. And you can actually just go to any store and get some zinc products. But what I'm going to say to you is, when it comes to supplements, you want to make sure that you're getting awesome supplements. You want to make sure you're getting high quality, bottom of the barrel supplements. I remember they did a study where they actually were looking at pumping septic fields or septic tanks, and they found a bunch of these enteric coated multiple vitamins that are easy on your stomach, but you don't absorb any of it. It's like literally like vinyl paint over the top of it. It's like sitting down in the septic tank, and it's not even being dissolved. So I remember that story came to light. That was 25 years ago. That really led us to steer away from supplementation. But for most of your nutrients, you want to be getting these from whole food sources. When I say whole food sources, that means fruits, vegetables, like real food that grows out of the ground and absorbs those vitamins, nutrients, and minerals. So what are the most dense forms of those foods? Well, organic. We want to make sure that we're eating organic, because remember, our food gets its minerals from the ground. We want to make sure that where our food is being grown with the nutrients, the organic nutrients, and absorbing those, because that's where we get it from. If it's depleted soil, and we're seeing that a lot today, we're seeing lower quality foods being produced, more of them. But like I say, you can only eat low quality foods for so long, because the kicker with that is, if it doesn't have the nutrients and it has all the calories, my body's still going to crave food based on the nutrients. If I need vitamins and minerals and I eat grass and I can't absorb any of that, well, my body's still going to be hungry. It's like, once it digests it still needs those nutrients. So I'm going to be hungry. So I'm going to be eating more often. And that doesn't help us with our body image. It doesn't help us with our health, our overall, the way we feel and function. That doesn't help us at all. So what are some of the good foods that we want to be eating? Well, of course, if you're a meat eater, we want to eat lean, grass-fed, grass-finished beef. Those are the best sources, or wild meats. Elk is in season, and oh my gosh, those are great sources of red meat, which has the vitamins and nutrients. Those wild animals are out in the woods. They're eating the foods they were meant to be eating. They're living the life they were meant to be living. Right up until we harvest it. And it's like, so that meat is going to be some of the best meat that you're ever going to put your hands on. So also you want to get all sorts of cold water fish. Those are high in omega-3 fats. They're also good with phytonutrients and all the things that they're getting there. We also want to make sure that we're getting vegetable sources, like foods like kale, bell peppers, butternut squash. Those are high in nutrients. They're very nutrient dense. The other things we want to look at is, like, if we're looking at the fruit category, especially, and I always try to eat seasonal. I don't like going and buying a bunch of foods that are not in season, because they're typically picked before they're ripe, and they ripen along the way. So they're not really getting that ripened on the vine where they're getting all the nutrients from the soil. They have whatever they have when they're picked, and they're bringing them with. So I think at the end of the day, it's just making sure that you're getting some really good, if you can, organic. Do what you can do with your means. I know not everybody can afford to eat organic, but it's worth the investment. It's worth the investment to start incorporating some of these foods. If that's what you can do your best, right? But we want to get nuts and seeds. Those are also a good source of all sorts of trace minerals and nutrients. Oysters is a good one, cocoa, and like I said, you want to get those cold water fish, salmon, those things. Those are good, healthy foods for you to be eating and consuming. Now, I'll say this, in the winter months, remember, it's very cold out there in the winter time. So we want to make sure our bodies need a lot of calories in the winter time so that it can maintain its body temperature when we're out in the cold weather and facing the elements. So we want to make sure that our bodies are eating foods that are higher in the fat contents. So, and they say fat content, everybody freaks out. They're like, oh my God, like fat, you want me to eat fat? No, I want you to put like extra virgin olive oil on your food, on your salads. You can put, butter on your food. You can butter it up. You can also use avocado oil. You can use coconut oil. These are all sources of good fats that your body can use. With coconut oil, there's a little bit of a discrepancy there. So if you have high LDL counts and you're being monitored for that, it's really what some science is showing that can actually up your LDLs a little bit. And so if you're being treated for heart disease or high cholesterol, hypercholesterolemia, then you're going to your doctor is going to freak out when they see that number, even though it can be low density. The low density lipoproteins have tight pack and loose pack. They're different, but they're measured the same. So the total cholesterol can be very alarming for your physician if you're being treated. So if you're being treated for that, I'm going to say go ahead and chill out on the coconut oil. Don't go haywire on the coconut oil, or avoid it altogether. But remember, when we start looking at the foods that we eat, remember, we got to take hydration into account too. This is a big part of our diet, the fluids that we're putting into our body. If we're waking up in the morning and we're not eating, we're not drinking water, we're drinking coffee, we're drinking all these things. These are diuretics, even tea. Some people are like, I drink green tea. And I'm like, great, that has caffeine in it. Here's white tea right here. It's got caffeine in it. But it's one of those things where it's a diuretic. Caffeine's a diuretic. It'll cause us to leach more water. So one of the things that we want to do is make sure that before you wake up in the morning and reach for that cup of coffee, while you're putting your coffee out, you're drinking a cup of water. You want to make sure you're drinking some water. I would say you want to make sure you're drinking a large cup of water prior to your coffee. And that just gives you, it takes 2 minutes and you're going to be sipping that coffee just the same as you would otherwise, but you're going to start off hydrated. You're going to have a positive balance there. So if you do lose a little bit of that water, at least you put some in before you took it out, right? I hope that makes sense for you. How much water should we be drinking? Well, I'm going to tell you from my clinical experience, I see people do best when they follow the recommendation, and it's a higher recommendation. But again, I just got done saying that most people are suffering from some chronic low-grade dehydration. We're not getting enough water into our bodies. Therefore, we're not eliminating all the toxins from our bodies. They're getting stuck in there. We're not maintaining proper mucosa linings in our sinuses in our throat, which can lead to all sorts of things. One of the things, remember that old saying, if you sleep with the air conditioning on, it'll make you sick. And I remember that was like my nana used to say that all the time. If you sleep with that AC on, you're going to get sick. And I remember, when I look at it, because there's a lot of people that are like, Well, is that true? And it's like, and yeah, it is, but not for the reason you think. It's not like the cold air is just blowing on you and you're going to get sick. What it does is it dries out those mucosa linings in your sinuses. They get cracked. They get subject to infection. And next thing you know, we got sinus infection. So at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we are hydrating and so that we can have proper mucosa hydration. And let's not forget AC is part of it, but also we have a lot of people have dry heat in their homes. So at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you're not blasting that heat on you and drying yourself out. If you're waking up and your sinuses feel like beef jerky, then I'm going to highly recommend A, you turn down that heat at night, and B, make sure you're drinking a ton of water. So again, how much water? I'll get to that. When it comes to water, half your body weight in ounces of water is the minimum. I'm going to say that again. Half your body weight in ounces of water is going to be the minimum. So what you're going to want to do, if you're 100 pounds, you want 50 ounces of water per day. And people are like, oh my God, 50, that seems like a lot. This is 30. So you need 2 of these and you got your water content if you're 100 pounds. I'm over 100 pounds. I hate to break it to everybody. I'm like 215, 220 pounds. So at the end of the day, I'm going to need 4 to 6 of these, depending on what I'm doing that day. And why do I say 4 to 6? Because 220 is going to be 110 ounces of water. I guess I can do math, but it's like I also have days where I'm working out, I'm doing jujitsu, I'm skiing, snowboarding, I'm out and about, I'm mountain biking, whatever it is. If I'm active that day, that's where I get my 6. I take 2 liters of water in my backpack, and I'm staying hydrated while I'm doing that. So that's something that all of us can do. Right? It's just it's a simple step. You can go to your refrigerator, fill up your water right now, and finish listening to the rest of this webinar. So it's like you can start doing this right now. So, but what I recommend, A, is take into consideration how much your body weight is, and then figure out a container that you're going to use regularly. I know this is 30 ounces. Here's my other container, 32 ounces. Right now, this right here, I know how many of these I have to drink in order to get my intake. Now you notice both of these are full, so I still got something to do. But so when we take a look at that, make sure you're doing that water. If you simply take in more water and become more sufficient with your water, you're going to notice huge changes in your skin. You're going to notice huge changes in your blood pressure. You're going to notice huge changes in the way your body feels and functions, especially how you eliminate. It's awesome. So let's take a look at the next thing that we can do. Right. So I don't have time. I don't want to spend as much money on organic foods. What else can I do? Well, when it comes down to it, if we're not getting, especially in the winter months, we're not getting as much of the good produce like we normally do. So the winter months is something where we really, really can benefit, in my opinion, from supplementation. And why they call it a supplement, because it's in addition to what you're eating. If what I'm eating is coming up short, then what can I add to it so that I go the rest of the way? So when we talk about it, we talk about it with our bundles. So in our office, we have all sorts of supplements, but one of the biggest supplements that we recommend across the board is fish oil. And I'm going to show you this right here. This is the one that I use right here. It's omega-3s. We got super omega-3s. When I take a look at these, there's 1,000 IUs per cap here. There's 60 caps in each one. I take 2 of these in the morning. I take 2 of them in the afternoon. Why? Because it actually helps reduce triglycerides. And hey, I'm 42 years old. I want to make sure that I live as long as I possibly can, and in good health. So, it reduces triglycerides, but, it really, at the end of the day, it also seems to noticeably reduce like cognitive issues like depression and improve painful and inflammatory conditions. So when we take a look at it, it's giving our brain what it needs to do with EPA and DHA. It's making sure that we have enough of those essential fatty acids that make up our brain. And it's allowing our body and our triglycerides to reduce, which we know is a good thing based off of all the science that we see. Having high amounts of free-floating triglycerides is not a good thing. So, but taking some omega-3s has a good way of reducing inflammation in the body. Now, is it going to be the same as Celebrex or something like that, who's a very potent anti-inflammatory? No, but it's also not going to punch holes in your gut either. So this is something that you can be using, and it actually helps thin the blood a bit as well. So if you're somebody who suffers from like very congested blood platelets, then that's something that might benefit. So when we take a look at it, the next one that we're going to do is vitamin D3. This is a good one. I always say that, like Superman, we are powered by Earth's yellow sun. So vitamin D3 is what we convert sunlight to. And it really is, they call it a vitamin, but honestly, it is more like a cofactor for almost every single major function in your body. So when we take a look at it, it affects our health, our bone health, by aiding in phosphorus absorption, but it also helps our immune system boost, right? We see really, especially when we're talking about living in the northern latitudes, and we're very up there. So the days get short pretty early in the year. Now, if you factor in we live in the mountains, we lose the sunlight early. We want to have direct sunlight for at least 30 minutes on large surface areas of our body. If we're not getting that, if you're walking around, and I always think of Winnipeg when it's cold, but it's like if you're walking around and you're bundled up and you can't see anything, especially this winter, everybody's going to be wearing masks. We're not even getting our faces exposed. So at the end of the day is make sure that when we're out and about, if we're not getting, and when we're alone and we have that chance, like when we're skiing and stuff like that, we can kind of absorb some sunlight, but you can go either into tanning beds, or you can really just get some good old-fashioned vitamin D and just supplement with this. It's good for us, it's good for the kids, it's good for our bones, it's good for our immune system. So make sure that we take that into consideration. Now, they say somewhere in the neighborhood of 2,000 IUs. There's a lot of, the jury's always arguing, right? They're always, they don't seem to be out on this one, but most of the time they say, anywhere from 600 to 800 was recommended in North America. Guess what? Common sense says that's not high enough. So a safe upper floor there is between 2,000 and 4,000 IUs per day. So when you take a look at that, you can get that from a few pills per day of vitamin D3 supplement, a high quality one, easily absorbed. They have sublingual sprays, but I find this one is a very easy one to take. The sublingual ones, you can get it in, but they're very small and not very cost effective. So the best bang for your buck is going to be the vitamin D3. Now, let's take a look over here. We're going to talk about a multiple vitamin. Now, I do not have my bottle of multiple vitamins because I just ran out of them. So Dr. Lisa's going to be bringing those home. But the multiple vitamin is good. It's a great way just to maintain health. And what you want to do in a multiple vitamin is you want to look for one that's made of whole food sources. And you want to make sure that it's from plant-based, right? Plant-based vegetables, phytonutrients, has all the stuff in there. But it allows our body, if I can say it like this, it's a surefire way to make sure that we're at least getting the minimum basics, so that we can have that. If you're eating, the standard American diet, SAD, SAD. It's the standard American diet, or if you're looking at that old food guide pyramid, you're going to want to make sure that you're taking a multiple vitamin, because a lot of the refined and processed foods out there, they have vitamins that are easily absorbed, or they're not absorbed at all. So it's like at the end of the day, we want to make sure, just because it says it's on there doesn't mean we're absorbing it. So make sure that we're getting that. Now, the last supplement that I'll talk about is probiotics. Probiotics, if you're a person who has digestive issues, probiotics is a great thing for you to do, to put into your body. We want to make sure that we're getting multiple strands. The one thing we're looking for in a probiotic, and look at me just blowing past that. What's a probiotic? A lot of people are like, what is a probiotic? So we have trillions of these tiny bacteria, like a trillion of these tiny bacteria that live in the intestinal lining of our bodies. And those are probiotics. That's what we call them. They live off of what we eat, and they help us break down and absorb food and nutrients. So one of the things we know about probiotics is that they're killed off very easily. In women specifically, there's issues with birth control that can kill off your gut flora. There's also issues with antibiotics. Antibiotics are a great thing. They can save your life in a pinch. But what I say is with probiotics, it's like hunting a deer by burning down the forest, or with antibiotics, it's like hunting a deer by burning down the forest. So what we need to do is remember, when you burn down the forest, what grows back the fastest is the things that are already there, like the things that are there. Like we talk about our body, what do we typically eat? Bread, sugars. What would happen when we put bread and sugar and yeast into a dark, moist area is it tends to thrive. So we end up with candida and all sorts of other things in there. So what we want to do is when we're taking, even if you're taking an antibiotic, is you want to make sure about 2 to 4 hours after you take an antibiotic, you're going to follow that up with a probiotic so that you're reestablishing a healthy gut flora again. That'll help your body recover better, and it will also help you feel better faster. And then it gets you back to absorbing, right? So again, I say it's not what we eat, it's what we absorb. So this will help you in the absorption category. So we want to make sure that that's something that we're doing. And when we talk about the seasonal effect disorder, we have to call into account that 90 or like, no, I'm sorry, I'm lying to you. It's 80% of the serotonin in our body is made in our gut. And that's through our probiotic and our healthy gut flora. So if we want to feel better and we want to have that better gut feeling, then we want to make sure that we're taking probiotics. So what do we look for in a probiotic? We want to have a multi-strain. We want to have a multiple strain. We want it to have more than one. And we want to have it to, right over here, this is 90 capsules. We want it to be in the billions of cultures. So anywhere from, 30, 40, 50, 60 billion is not a bad thing. Everybody thinks like, oh my God, that's a lot. These are so tiny. Like, honestly, they're so tiny. The cultures, they could fit that into a few caps. So when we're taking that, if you try it for yourself, take it as recommended. I love these. They keep my gut, they keep my digestion just on point. So if you're a person who struggles with digestion and you haven't sampled high quality probiotics, we have them in stock. That's something I'm going to recommend for everybody is get them. But you want to make sure it's a multi-strand and you want it to be above 50. I would say, for me, I say you want to take 50 billion per day. I think there's enough things in our water, chlorine, any type of thing like that that you can buy out there that's going to actually affect that. So replacing it frequently is not going to be a bad thing. Okay. So let's see. That was the last one as far as supplements go. So we're gonna put in the description of the video when we post it, we're actually gonna have the handout that you can click and download. So that'll be an easy one. It's an infographic. It's simple and easy for you to use. So you can go ahead and click on that afterwards. So now that was diet. We spent a lot of time on diet. Let me tell you, I'm not going to spend a ton of time walking through everything, but I want you to really be really cognizant of the other steps here. So when we get into rest, so we have diet, rest. So when we get into rest, I'm going to start you with this quote. It's Alan Cohen. It says, "There is virtue in work and there is virtue in rest. Use both and overlook neither." So when we talk about that is there's a trade-off for everything that we do. So remember, if we're working hard, we're going to need to recover hard. Now, I get it. There are going to be days where we don't have the option. It's go time. It's crunch time. I got to work. I'm pulling long hours. Somebody called off sick. People are working at the hospital. These doctors are busting their hump, and they're in their long hours all the time. And that's just part of what they're doing. So they're going to need to counterbalance and recover, because if they do that too much, they spread too thin. And when you take a look at that, I say we're very energetic beings. So if our energy is low, well, I think if I'm kind of a Star Trek geek, and I say it like this: if our energy is low, it's like this, the Enterprise running on the generators. And when you're running on the generators, the force fields can't take as many hits. So our mood can't take as many hits. Our immune system can't take as many hits. Our digestion can't take any hits. It's like, and our overall health can't take as many hits. Our health dwindles when we're out of gas. So let's remember, what can we do to make sure we're running full all cylinders, is make sure we take the downtime and we recover, and then we can move on. We got to slow down. to literally, ultimately speed up again, right? So we got to look at this from the circadian rhythms. So if you're a person who's like, we got to understand, if you're a person who struggles to get to bed at night, we're gonna give you some tips here in just a second for that. But remember this, consistency is key. So if you're a person who goes to bed at all hours, like tonight I'm going to bed at 9 o'clock, tomorrow night I'm going midnight or 1 o'clock, and then the next night, it's like, and sometimes, hey, I get it, life dictates, our environment dictates our needs, like what we need to be doing in order to get done with our day. So at the end of it is, remember, our when we wake up, our cortisol levels are going to be at its highest. So really at the end of the day, they rise in the morning and then they fall at night. So when our cortisol drops, we start getting ready to go to sleep. So we're designed to rise and fall with the sunshine. So when we're able to get up, and then when the sun goes down, it activates our pineal gland. Our pineal gland starts to secrete melatonin, and that ultimately gets us ready to go to bed. Preps it. Now there's a whole other cascade of events that occur in order for you to get your head on your pillow at night. Here's the one thing that I know. When the light is shining right there in your face, whether it's your cell phone shining in your face and you're staring at this, it actually prevents your pineal gland from being activated because there's shining light in your face. So you're fooling your mind into thinking it's daylight. And I think that's really where we went wrong when we invented the light bulb. All of a sudden, we're able to trick ourselves into thinking that it's daytime out there. So one of the things that I can say is make sure that every day we're trying to go to bed at the same time when possible. You want to make sure, and I'm going to say when possible, but make that a rule of thumb. Make it the exception where you're going to be staying up to all hours of the night. And really at the end of the day, we want to get into a nice dark room, set the stage for your sleep. It's got to be super dark because that's where the activation of that pineal gland comes from, is the darkness. We want to make sure we're breathing. So box breathing, 4-second count in. Hold for 4 seconds and out. 3, 4, and then hold. 3, 4, breathe in. And box breathe. So rhythmic breathing will help slow our heart rate. It'll help get our minds calm, and it'll help get us back into prepping to go to sleep. So, try that. The last thing I talked about the cell phones is e-fast. So don't be getting to see what's on Facebook. If you want to have a good night's sleep, you can't check Facebook before you go to bed. I can't get on Facebook and scroll through 5 posts before I find something that makes my blood pressure spike. So, one of the things I'll say is turn it off, put it in the drawer, and then that way at least a half an hour before bedtime. One of my things that I like to do is I like to throw it in the drawer when I get home, and I don't pick it up until I hear it go off or I'm looking around the house. So you fall out of love with your cell phone. That would be the good thing. Now, remember, when we're resting, that's where the magic happens. I say that's how Santa Claus gets around the world overnight. Is really it's when our bodies are at rest. That's where the breakdown of our day becomes repaired. We start repairing that. Our body goes to work on healing, repairing, and recovering from our day, and adapting so that we're better suited to face that day tomorrow, right? So at the end of the day, if I had a hard day at work, my body's going to be sore, it's going to be stiff, it's going to be recovering. So I want to make sure that I'm feeding it properly and make sure that I'm getting proper amounts of rest and recovery. So those are the big things that I'm going to say there. And if you're a person, I say it like this, you need to fall asleep and wake up feeling refreshed. Because I'd love to tell you that I get 7 to 9 hours of sleep every night. I don't know what study said that, but it's like at the end of the day, if I get 9 hours of sleep, I'm going to be dead. I'm going to be dead tired. It's like too much sleep makes you tired. And I agree with that. So if you overshoot your optimal sleep and you go back to bed, it's going to take you about 90 minutes if you fall back asleep to want to wake up again. It's about an average 60 to 90 minutes. So at the end of the day is, I don't want to get up. It's 5 o'clock. Boom. I'm not going to be ready again until 6:30. And that's the trade-off, the coziness of the sleep or get on with my day. So at the end of the day, we're better suited to get out of bed. There's a great book, if you haven't read it, it's Mel Robbins, The 5-Second Rule. And she's counted down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and go. That's it. Get out of bed. Do not hit that snooze button. It's gonna set you up for failure the rest of the day. But I say it like this, when you're talking about it, some days we are tired and we need to rest. Some days we do get sick and we do catch colds and we do catch flus. And it's like, you're going to want to rest. That's not the time to storm out of bed and try and get on with your day. That's where your body's saying, hey, slow down, take a seat. We got this. We'll get you out of work today. And then you can let yourself heal so that your body actually starts to feel better. So that's the big part. Now, when we roll out of bed, we get out of rest. Remember, we said right there in that quote, there's virtue in work and there's virtue in rest. But when we talk about it, we can't just, the virtue comes from the work. The virtue of rest comes from the work. It's the balancing act of, hey, I've used all my energy for today. I'm going to need to weigh in on the rest side. Oh, I got enough sleep. Now I have more energy. Okay, so it's the balance. So when we're talking about that, exercise is going to be part of it, right? Now, most people, I grew up on a farm. So like that there's always work to be done. There was something that needed to be done when I was a teenager. We moved into the city through 4-H. I would go out and I'd help bale fields. That was just something that we did in a small farming community. But that physical work, grabbing hay bales, 60-pound hay bales and chucking them over and over again, that's physical work. That's physical work, excuse me. Hey, well, here comes my kiddo eating what?
Pretzels.
Pretzels. Uh-oh. I'm on a conference call here. So we're doing a webinar. Say hi to everybody here.
Hello.
Hello. Callie just got her haircut. She's looking real sharp. You're awesome. Go in the other room for me. I'll come get you when I'm done.
I want to kill you.
Yeah, kind of. Okay, you can go sit over there. If you want to sit over there and just be quiet, that'll be fine. But you can't be in the back making a bunch of noise. Stress. Let's talk about stress. Anyway, so exercise. Exercise is, I'm gonna lead each of these sections with a quote. Exercise is it says exercise is a celebration of what your body can do and not a punishment for what you ate. I love that. It's like exercise is a celebration of what we can do. We're physically capable bodies that are able to do stuff. And we got to be able to do it. So at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we're getting exercise. How do I define exercise? It's going to be huffing, puffing, sweating, and panting. So when we're, I'll see you later, hon. Can you close that door behind you, please? Thank you. It's awesome. But huffing, puffing, sweating, panting, our heart rate should be elevated. We should feel the effects of the exercise. So this is important not only in mood regulation, it's also important in brain development and maintenance. There's a great book I think everybody should read, especially school teachers. If you're a school teacher, you should definitely read this book. It's called Spark, The Revolutionary New Science of Exercise in the Brain. And what it talks about in this book is it talks about a chemical messenger in the brain called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF. And when we exercise hard and we get ourselves into a very elevated heart rate and rhythm, and we're pushing ourselves in the limits of our brain starts to produce BDNF, or brain-derived neurotrophic factor. That helps our body to start to form new brain cells. I know we were always told that our brain, use it or lose it. But it starts to form new brain cells, so that helps us in memory, it helps us in function, and it helps our bodies really start to, and our mood start to feel better. We start to learn better. And actually in the book Spark, they were using this, they called it Zero Gym, and they were talking about kids and cognitive performance in scholastics. And what they saw was this group that they were working with, the gym teachers were like, we're gonna run these kids, and then we're gonna see how they test. So what they were doing is they're running them first thing in the morning, and then they would go to class and they would learn that. And because the spike in the BDNF, that's what they're attributing it to. Of course, there needs to be more hard science on this, but they're attributing it to the spike in the BDNF, that these kids were actually able to absorb the material better, and therefore they were able to score higher on their tests. So that it was pretty cool. So if you're feeling like you got something to learn. If you're a student and you want to learn, hey, drop and give me 30 burpees and then sit down and start studying, right? So that'll be a better way for you to start learning your material, according to that research. So remember, that's mood regulation. But remember, exercise also, when we're using our body, when we talk about endurance, remember energy production. We talked about energy before. How does exercise help with immune function, brain function, digestive function? Is it actually ups our body's need for energy. So it actually creates these, the mitochondria actually numbers start to multiply in the cells. So mitochondria are like the power plants. They generate piezoelectricity in the body. So when we're talking about this, it's giving our bodies the energy that it needs. So ATP production goes up, energy production in the body goes up, and we have more stamina and energy. We can go further with our day. So I hope that makes sense to you. So exercise is going to do two things. It's going to help with our mental cognitive function and our mood, and as well as it's going to help give us more energy. We're going to have more fuel in the tanks, so we're not running on the reserves the whole time. So with exercise, I know it's hard for a lot of people. And I always say, change for the better, it takes time, and quitting is not going to speed it up. So if you're going to start an exercise program, the best way to start that is to really get something that you like to do. I always say the funnest exercise is exercise you don't know you're doing. If you haven't participated in an exercise program in a long time, or in a particular sport in a long time, you're going to want to do some warming up. You're going to want to do some stretching. You're going to want to do some body weight exercises to get yourself ready to do that. Anybody who plays recreational softball knows you can't just pick up the bat, go to the diamond, and sprint to first base without your legs being totally sore, even to the point where it's debilitating, where you're having trouble working. So at the end of the day, listen to your body, approach it with a solid strategy, and get yourself flexible, and get yourself, like, crawl before you walk, and walk before you run when it comes to starting something. If you haven't skied in 30 years, don't go hit the hill and go blazing down there light speed and expect not to get hurt. You haven't done it in a while. Start off cruising and see what you can do. The one thing that the quote that I dislike the most is, I can't do it like I used to. The fact of the matter is, for most of us, we don't do it like we used to. When we played sports and we did these things, we'd stretch, we'd warm up, we'd participate, we'd cool down, and we'd take care of any injuries that we had. The reality of it is, we go from the couch to the chairlift to the ambulance ride, and then we wonder why it all went wrong, right? So remember, change takes time. So give yourself the time. Don't just jump into it full steam and try and pick up where you left off. Ease back into it, right? Now, we got diet, we got rest, we got exercise. We're going into alignment. So alignment is one of these ones here. And I'm going to give you the quote. He who has hope he who has wealth has hope, and he who has health has hope, and he who has hope has everything. That's Thomas Carlyle. So I kind of butchered that there, but it's, if you have health, you have hope. And if you have hope, you can do anything. You have everything you need to get out the door. So let's take a look at this. Now, when we talk about it, the mental aspect of alignment comes from aligning yourself with the goals that you have. It's aligning yourself strategically, right? And making sure that you have a good solid plan before you just jump into the fray. So when we're talking about this is making sure that if you're going to go and embark on, say, here's what I'm going to lose 40 pounds. I want to lose like 10 pounds, right? So I'm going to change the way I eat. For me, if I'm going to embark on that journey, I'm going to talk to my wife, and I'm going to make sure that she's on board. She knows exactly what I'm trying to do, and so she can support me. She's not a mind reader, and I can't be frustrated with if she decides that she's going to eat a bag of chips, which she doesn't. But if she's going to eat a bag of chips right in front of me, I can't be excited at her about that. I have to make her aware of what my goals are and my intentions so she can support me. Because it's hard enough to be on the same page and still achieve all these goals. But it's almost impossible if you're on two different pages. So we have to make sure that we're doing what we need to do in order for us to get the most out of our goals and mentally align ourselves. with our spouses, with our families, with our diets, and with our plans. So at the end of the day, here we go. So boom. So it's always make sure that we're going to be on the same page. Having strategic alignment is going to be crucial for anything that we're doing in life, right? So let's take a look at this right in through here. So we have when we talk about the a positive mindset going into this, remember, nothing worthwhile is easy. Nothing worthwhile is easy. When we're good at certain things, just because we're good at it and it seems easy doesn't mean that it's going to be the best use of our time. So the reality of it is when we're talking about a positive outlook going into it, be excited on the goal, on the outcome, right? And remember that every day you're doing it is going to help you get closer to it. So have that alignment of mindset. Now let's talk about the other type of alignment. Let's flip the coin over. Mentally and physically, we've got to be aligned. So here's the reality, knowing where I stand. Knowing where I stand physically is crucial to us getting where we want to go. So if I don't know how much I weigh and I'm like, I want to lose 40 pounds, and that might not be a realistic goal. To say, oh, well, I probably gained 10 pounds in the last 4 years. If you don't know where you are, like at least know where you are, know where you're starting from. The best way that we can reach our goals is setting realistic ones, right? So at the end of the day, have a positive outlook moving into that. Now, when we talk about the physical side of it, remember this. I say, hey, wanting to start an exercise program, diet and exercise is great. Yoga is a great thing, but doing yoga with a sprained ankle is a detriment, right? So at the end of the day, what we want to do is we want to make sure that we're addressing our bodies, right? We're taking care of ourselves. When we start a new exercise program, we start a new activity, our bodies can become injured, they can be stressed and sore. We're going to want to make sure that we're addressing those as quickly as we can. So I come home from jiu-jitsu at night and my body's beat up. I'm adjusting all day, my body's beat up. I have to make sure at nighttime, when I come home from jiu-jitsu, that I'm icing my shoulders, I'm icing my knees if I need to, I'm icing the hip, I'm icing my lower back, I'm icing whatever's hurting. So that I can get back in the game. At the end of the day, to just get beat down all the time is not fun, and that's a surefire way to quit. So address those injuries, and again, approaching it, take that rest when you need to. If you're hurt, you can't do it, that's fine. Ice, get better, get back, and if you can get back to it, that's it, simple. You're going to actually feel better when you start moving than if you just stop altogether. So just remember that, right? And you can always go back to the beginning. The foundation is going to be stretches and exercises, basic exercises. So you can always do that. If you hurt your ankle, you can still work on your upper body. You can do some push-ups, you can do some sit-ups, you can do some crunches, you can do something. You can go, if it's your shoulder or something, you can still do some squats. You could do, even body weight. There's plenty of ways of getting a workout in. So let's talk about your hips and your spine. As a chiropractor, I can tell you this, you're not going anywhere with a spine injury. One of the biggest things that we see, and why do I bring this up in alignment and healthy alignment as part of it? Because when your spine is out of alignment, it's a detriment to your body. Back pain, hip pain, neck pain, headaches, all these things are so common today that they seem normal. Like people tell me that all the time. Well, I just get normal headaches. How many headaches do you get? I don't know. I get 3 or 4 a week. 3 or 4 a week. Holy wow! You're talking about, if you get 4 a week, you're talking about, man, that's like 408 or what is that? 208 headaches a year. That's a lot of headaches. You spend the most of your year with a headache. So that's we want to do something about that. So if you're a person who struggles with your spine, remember this. When your spine is out of alignment, what happens is that creates soft tissue damage, that creates irritation and inflammation in that spine, and that creates nerve root irritation, which ultimately produces pain. And then we see it creates spasming, guarding of those muscles and areas. And what we oftentimes will see is that leads to degeneration over time. So when we take a look at it, we should address these things as they come up. Now, if this is you, if you're a person who struggles with your body you have headache, neck pain, backaches, or you want to just make sure your performance is staying tip top. If you're going to start something new and you're going to beat yourself up, you want to make sure that your spine and your body is in alignment. When we talk about our performance, we can't perform at our best if we're hurt and injured, right? So make sure that we're addressing those as they come up. If you've never been to our practice, look on our website. If you're wondering what exercises you can do, we have exercise videos. You just got to scroll over videos and it'll say exercise videos. Click on that link and it'll take you to, we have exercises for neck pain, back pain. We have low back, mid back, all these things in there for your body that you can do. Mobility exercises, stretches, and strengthening exercises so that you can actually really get flexible, strong, and have the support you need to take your performance to the next level, okay? So with that being said, mindset is the last, okay? There's one of my favorite, I'm really on the Jocko train right now, but Jocko Willink is a former Navy SEAL, and he says, for mindset, take ownership of everything in your world. There is no one else to blame. So when you take ownership of how you eat, how you move, how you think, you take control of your diet, your bedtime, your rise time, you take a look at your exercise schedule, you take a look at the mindset and the strategies that you're employing in your day-to-day life, and making sure that you're addressing all those injuries as they come up. That's going to be crucial to you reaching those goals. So what are some of those things that we can do in order for us to reach our goals? Well, I say it like this. For myself, this is what works. I have a virtual board of trustees. That means I create, of my heroes, I create a category. So I have health, I have finances, I have exercise, I have like a spiritual guide. I'm talking about looking at lifestyle. Like there's people that I emulate in this world that I respect and I look up to. And one of the biggest ones here, like Jocko Willink has just replaced somebody on my board of trustees because I see somebody who inspires me more. And that's who makes the cut on my board of trustees. So I look at those circumstances and I say, hey, you know what? Instead of blaming other people, I'll look at what would Jocko do. And it's like, oh, well, he says, hey, I should take ownership of everything. There's nobody to blame but me. So that's it. So get my head snapped back on and let's take a look at it. One of the biggest things with mindset, you'll notice this, when you try and embark on something and you try to do something for yourself, you're going to see those people that liked you just the way you were start to give you resistance. You're going to start to get pushback and you're going to be like, what? Don't you want me to do better? And the reality of it is they don't. Because you doing better says that to them, makes them feel guilty about why it is. And that's why you hear people say, oh, you can just have a couple of beers. You can just have a couple of pieces of cake and some ice cream and eat a piece of pizza with me. Come on, why aren't you my friend? It's like, hey, you know what? I am your friend. And if you were being a good friend to me, you wouldn't ask me to do something that was out of integrity. So at the end of the day, marshal who you put into your life, right? So that virtual board of trustees, I got Laird Hamilton on there. I got Jocko Willink. I got Dr. Stephen Franson. He's one of my clinical mentors who I highly respect and look up to. I have also, when I look at it for finances, there's a number. I can't give you my. Create your own virtual board of trustees, right? There you go. But pick the people that you really respect and emulate. So when you look at it, it'd be like, what would this person do? What would this person do? Right? Who would I want to have? Like, what would he do in this situation? And use that as kind of a moral guide and compass. But take action. That's a big part of it. Create your board of trustees. Take action. Pick something that you think you can do. Make a list of 5. You can do this tonight. Take action. Take a list. Make 5 things. We have diet, rest, exercise, alignment, and mindset. What is the one thing that you can do today that's going to allow you to do better? That's it. What is the one thing I can do today? Now, for you, it might be, hey, you know what? I don't drink enough water. I know I don't drink enough water, and I need to start drinking a lot of water. So good. Go get your water. Fill it up. Measure your cup. Know what you're drinking. Know how many ounces you need per day. Split your body weight by 2, and that's how many ounces you need. So get your water. and make sure that you're starting on that. Commit to doing that. Commit to doing it for 2 weeks. Commit to doing it for a month, and see how well you do, and measure yourself on it, right? And again, when we take a look at it, is just basically, if you're going into exercise, look at that. A lot of people have different reasons for not exercising. They're like, well, I don't have time. I'm pretty busy, but I make time. That's it. Because if you're relying on somebody to give you the time to exercise, you're going to have to go, time out. This is what I need to do for me. I'm going to make sure that I get this in. If you're a person who has a very busy, hectic lifestyle, you can look into Tabata workouts. They're 4 minutes. 4 minutes. I have 4 minutes every single day to exercise, if that's the case. I like my workouts to be a little bit longer, so 20 minutes is good. 15, 20 minutes, but it's like, maybe a half an hour, but it's like, pick what's going to work for you. And don't jump into something that you're not really clear as is going to be super beneficial. If you're a person who doesn't know how to exercise, you're going to want to make sure you get a coach. Any person who's super successful in life has a coach doing something, whether it's a baseball player, a pianist, whatever it is, a musician. We take lessons, we get guidance, we get coached. So, don't be afraid to reach out for that. If you have issues, don't be afraid to comment. We'll be glad to help you in this regard. But pick one thing that you can do in each of those categories. It might be go to bed a little bit earlier. It might be get some cellular shades in my room to black out the light. It might be, hey, shut the heat off in my room so I'm not getting all dried out at night. There's a lot of things that we can do. But, when it comes to getting the proper amount of rest, pay attention to how much rest you really need to feel rested and recovered. Not how much you can get by on. I want to be clear on that. Because I can get by on 3 hours of sleep, but I'm not going to perform at my best. I'm not going to be an agreeable Dr. Rob. I'm going to be surviving to get through it. I can do it, but we're talking about what's desirable. I want to feel my best. I want to be able to smile at people. I want to be able to laugh. I want to be able to help them. And it takes a lot of weight to be a healthcare practitioner, because a lot of times people are coming to you with their issues, and you know what? It's if you're low energy, you'll start to take that on. But you know what? I find that the higher my energy is, the more people I can help, the more energy I have to serve the people that are in my practice. And I really want to make sure that I can do my best for them, as I know everybody here wants to be the best for their families, their friends, and their loved ones, and their community. So, let's make sure that we're getting some good sleep. Let's make sure diet. Hey, you know what? If you're not getting the vitamins and minerals you need, start looking into supplementation. Start looking into changing some of the foods that we're putting into our bodies. Make sure we're eating more greens. There should be greens, there should be proteins, and there should be fats on your plate. Whether it's animal protein or plant protein, you should have protein on your plate with fats and greens. That's what we really need. That's what your plate should look like every day. But you know what? If you know you're not getting the right foods in your body, make sure you're supplementing. Make sure you're getting the fish oils. Make sure you're getting the vitamin D. Make sure you're getting the multiple vitamins and the probiotics. Those are simple ways. For less than $5 a day, you can get what you need out of it. That's like one mocha wacchino ever at the Starbucks. And make sure it's simple enough. You're worth it. So that's it. Now, looking at this here, I'm going to end this whole thing just by saying, do your best. Do your best. If you're struggling to get out of bed in the morning and you feel like I need more sleep, otherwise I'm just going to be going through those motions, get out of bed. Go through those motions. Make sure you're energized, and make sure that you're living up to that potential. Make sure that you're doing your part each and every day. If you really need rest, get it tomorrow. Go tomorrow and get your sleep. Because what I find is if I get out of bed and I do the exercises and I get my stuff, my work done, I actually feel better. And then tomorrow, guess what? I don't need a rest. I get some sleep, a good sleep. I earned my sleep for that night. I get better quality of sleep. And then I'm better prepped to face my day and get out of bed the next day. And I'm so glad when I look back on those days that I didn't stay in bed, that I actually got up and I did what I needed to do, because, man, I feel energized for the rest of my day. But do your best, right? So I'm going to close this one down here. And I'm going to say it like this. This is a quote, another last Jocko quote I'll give you. Most things never get done, or most things that never get done because they never get started. So step aggressively towards your fears. And that step towards your fear is the step towards bravery. So go out there and be brave. Take a challenge, try something different. You know, again, if you're a person who has issues with their health, I'd love, and you need guidance on that, book an appointment into our office. I would love to come alongside of you and partner with you to help you reach your health goals so that you can get the most out of your life. And let's face facts, folks. If we work together and we have somebody who can help us hold accountable, find friends that will help hold you accountable to your goals or have similar goals that will partner with you, do that. Because it's always going to be better when you have somebody helping you than just trying to go at it alone. Okay? So I hope you got something out of this. If you did, give us a comment. Let us know how we did. If you have a question, put it in there. If you haven't had a chance to go by our page, like and subscribe to our page. It'll be a great way to help us get our message out there to people just like you so that you can do better, live better, and raise the health and the consciousness of our community here in Kamloops. Everybody have a great rest of your day, a great night, I should say. It's getting pretty dark out there. And we'll look forward to talking to you the next time. Take care, be well, enjoy your day.